Hi, kids. We are at, I think, number 21 with Dollar Tree Theater. I've had this movie, The Island from 1980 with Michael Caine. Excuse me. Yeah, I've had this probably pre-COVID, and I finally got around to checking it out. This is a movie based on a book by Peter Benchley, the man from Jaws and The Deep. This is another adaptation. He wrote the screenplay to this particular movie. It stars Michael Caine, David Warner, and a young woman named Angela Punch McGregor. Yes, she has a middle name, Punch. That's pretty interesting. But I saw this probably about 40 years ago on cable. I didn't go see it when it first came out. It didn't do well. I think the critics really hated it. I think I understood then why. And I even understand even more why they wouldn't like it nowadays. And I'm not saying that as a deterrent to this movie, because it's so ridiculous that it's entertaining. There's some good plotting, and to tell you the truth, the film is just filled with solid British character actors. I mean, David Warner is essentially a character actor. He's just more famous than all these other guys. Well, let's get to the plot. For the last few years, hundreds of people going out boating in this one area in the Caribbean. They end up disappearing. The boat disappears and such, and this is illustrated in the first opening sequence with some people out doing some fishing, and a rather slasher kind of carnage happens. Very much of the trend of the day of pretty brutal Friday the 13th kind of slice them up type stuff that happens. This is really the most graphic scene in the whole movie. There are kind of throat slashings, but not as graphic as this opening scene. This came out in 1980, so it wasn't trying to emulate Friday the 13th, but other movies. I'm not sure who did the makeup effects. Michael Ritchie did one of the best kid movies, a movie about kids ever made, and it's Bad News Bears. But Michael Ritchie, he went on to do the two Fletch movies. The first one's actually pretty damn good. But Michael Caine, he's a journalist. He goes down with his son to check out exactly what's going on down there. His son is played by Jeffrey Frank. Frank has only done one other movie, and which is a pity. I don't know what his story is, but he's actually pretty damn good in this movie. But they go down and So they were investigating people going out boating and fishing and disappearing. So what do those two do? They go out boating and fishing. And what happens is Kane has a gun which is actually owned by his son, and he kills this guy, this pirate, and that's what we find out. There's a community of pirates. What we also see is this girl is actually luring their boat to the attack. The girl was kidnapped or taken after a boatload of people gets killed, and this kind of leads into what we find out later, that because of inbreeding and such, the genetic pool of this encampment of pirates, they need new blood, so they bring in children and raise them in their ways. And that's kind of what happens with Michael Caine and his son. He gets knocked out after killing the pirate, and he's brought into like a trial. And the widow, who it is played by Angela Punch McGregor, her character's name's Beth. She ends up deciding that he might be, well, they persuade her to accept him as kind of like a pet / sex slave, because he might be, good stock to help generate more good genetics within the group. At the same time, Michael Caine decides to take not Michael Caine, but David Warner. His character is John David New. I think that's how it's pronounced. He decides that Justin, who is Jeffrey Frank, the son of Michael Caine's character, his name is Blair Maynard, he's going to take him as his son, so he ends up having him essentially brainwashed through a sort of torture of sleep deprivation, and he ends up becoming part of the group and having a different view of his father, Michael Caine, and viewing David Warner as his true father. And so Beth is starting to develop feelings for Michael Caine's Blair, and so there's sympathy there with that type of situation. I'm going to just leave it there, but there are some pretty good situations, and there's this wonderfully ridiculous. They sack a boat, a ship actually, with smaller ships, which is a very interesting scene to see how these smaller boats can realistically overrun, especially people who aren't expecting to be overrun by pirates. But one of the guys on the boat apparently knows karate. And it's a really ridiculous scene, and of course it ends the way you know it's going to end. But honestly, this is a fun ride. Like I said, if you're into the, practical, violent effects like throat slashings and, this hatchet to the face this one guy gets in the beginning. Yeah, you pretty much, they blow their wad at that beginning scene, but there's occurrences throughout the movie that touch upon it a little bit. But honestly, this is a fun movie. The only problem in a cheesy, silly kind of way, but the only problem I really have with it, aside from it being a bit on the cheesy side, it's just too long. It's like an hour and 55 minutes, and they could cut 10 minutes off of it, and it'd still be it'd be nice and tight, and it'd move better. But aside from that, this is a fun movie. I was lucky to pick it up at Dollar Tree. But okay, well, this is it for this Dollar Tree. Until next time, stay safe and always have a good time. Bye now.